We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. With us this morning, community leader, Reverend Enoch Fuzz. Good to have you on, sir. Appreciate you being here. And we're taking your phone calls, 737-7587. Also streaming live on Facebook at newschannel5.com. Just looking at some of these comments during the break. But like, for instance, there's some here, Reverend, where David points this out, and I've heard about this. It's a case, Supreme Court case, Garner versus Tennessee back in 1985. Discretionary judgment is given to police officers pursuing fleeing suspects to use lethal force regardless of if the suspect is armed or not. You know, the discretion, it's all subjective and discretionary, the officer's decision. Other people say, you know, Reverend, you say, well, he's shooting and may have missed and the bullets, where do they go? But what if he lets this guy who's armed and dangerous run off into the community? You know, didn't he have a responsibility to stop him?
Well, has that ever in history led to a fleeing felon going to take somebody's life? We point to the Supreme Court decisions on what they thought about it, and we wondered about that, because I thought the Supreme Court had said that police should not shoot a fleeing felon, but that clears that up because I hadn't been able to find it.
Well, it's a subjective thing. It's discretionary is what they say. So in some cases maybe, in some cases not, and that's what we're looking at now with this most recent case.
I'm going to tell you something. People in this city, black and white, what I've heard is that most people overwhelmingly disagree with that last officer shooting. Now that's what I've heard, blacks and whites. I've only had one of my white friends call to say, Enoch, you need to tell your people not to run from the police or they're going to get shot. Well, I can understand that he's been socialized to think that way. Most other people came to, they came on time with crying and hurting. They didn't like what they saw. I think that our police, and I've got like 40 of their phone numbers in my phone. I had a black policeman come by the church to say, I don't like what's going on. What do you think? Now he's a policeman, and he's been there a while too, all right? And I talked to a white officer. They're concerned about, he doesn't like the chief. He feels like the chief is too hard on the officers. What I've looked at from going to police ComStat meetings the past 5 years is, number one, the Nashville Police Department is way understaffed. If I was a criminal, I'd set up shop in Nashville.
That seems to be what's happening.
Okay, and that can be a cause for the escalating incidences and crime that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's a whole different issue. I know you've called in on it. It's not just the police department, the fire department. You see Ben Hall's story last night?
That's right.
Meanwhile, we're building a soccer stadium.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like soccer.
I like soccer too. Nothing against soccer, but you know, there's some things more important, like protecting the community. Let's take a few phone calls for you, Reverend. Let's go to Joe. Joe, good morning.
Morning, Nick.
Hi, Joe. What's on your mind?
Reverend Fuzz.
Hey, Joe.
Getting away from the police shooting just a little bit, we've had 6 shootings here in the last couple of months. 3 people for sure was, 3 people I know of was killed. 1 person's paralyzed. Other ones were just shot. In each instance, the shooter was black. Now, could you help me explain to me a little bit what the mindset of these people that are carjacking people, robbing people, and shooting people just for no reason at all? We don't have no videotapes of these. So, you know, what happened there? Help me explain, you know, explain a little bit to me what the mindset of the black community is when you've got this kind of stuff going on.
And let's fix that. It's not the mindset of necessarily the black community. I want to put this phenomenon in play here. Poverty is the enemy of the law, says the prophet Agar. And he goes on to pray, so keep me from hunger, O Lord, so that I will not steal. This type of violent crime you will see in any culture where the poverty is seated. These are the types of crimes that happen in poverty and in low education. Again, look back in the jails where you talk about the people who are in the jails, they think they're black, they're white, they're not. Look for a common denominator. Low education and poverty. Look at the crimes that we're seeing. Low education and poverty. Nick, we're giving out food. I've got a truck, a tractor trailer truck of food sitting in the parking lot. People are coming by every hour getting food because they're hungry. And some people tell their story. This is such a great help. And you know what it is? It's like lasagna, ready to eat. People are hungry. Poverty is the enemy of the law. A poor man, or these kids in school who don't have any money to go to McDonald's, and they see other kids going in the store getting potato chips. Kids want things. Poverty will fight back. And if you look all over the world, this kind of crime is the type of stuff that happens where there's poverty.
Your point, of course, is that it's not the color of your skin. No. It's socioeconomic.
That's a good way to put it. Socioeconomic.
No,
yes.
Well, I think you described it better.
And
in a
education.
Way and education.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Candy. Hi, Candy.
Hi, good morning to you and your guest.
Sure.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Well, I have a comment, really. The young police that shot the young man, what I'm trying to understand, I don't know neither one of them, but it hurt my heart to see the way that young man was gunned down. And what I don't understand is once a person is running, why are you running and shooting at them? Because I'm looking at this gentleman, well, I shouldn't say gentleman, the guy that shot the people in the Waffle House, that he comes out of that place and not shot at all. But I'm just trying to justify this. When you shoot a person and they down, why does the police handcuff them? I mean, the person can't do anything, and that bothered me too. As far as Chief Anderson, I hear a lot of people disliking him. As far as I'm concerned, he's a nice person, because when I wrote him, he wrote me back. Well, they did. I don't know if he wrote, but the letter came back justifying what I wrote about. As far as I'm concerned, in Nashville, there's so much violence going on now, and I don't know why we can't come together. And I'm just going to say this, like out in Edge Hill, all these years that the place is blooming now, why hasn't they put a store out there for these people? That's what I don't understand. It's just certain things that you see that you're wondering. But you all have a good morning. Maybe you can answer some of the comments I made.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, yeah, you've touched on some of that with the socioeconomic, and I knew this would get some reaction from your comment, and several people have already on Facebook saying, so are you saying that poverty is an excuse for crime? There are plenty of people who are poor out there that are law-abiding citizens that don't commit crimes. How would you answer that?
There is no excuse for crime. That's illegal. Don't break the 10 Commandments.
Okay.
And there's no excuse for that. What I'm saying is that you will see a higher incident of certain kinds of crime in certain socioeconomic neighborhoods and education.
Okay.
Well, you got on blue collar, but white collars, people commit crime too.
Yeah.
A different kind of crime. It's not violent crime. In poor neighborhoods all over the world, you're seeing this kind of crime. And you know what else is in that neighborhood? Drugs are in those neighborhoods. So you combine poor education, poverty, and drugs, you're going to have violent crime. You don't have police. You have a city of prosperity. You're going to have those pockets in that city that are immersed in criminal activity, especially violent crime. You have to address that. We've not added to our police department how many people, we're saying 80 people a day come to town.
Yeah, moving here at least.
Are we keeping up with that in terms of safety? Nick, if you drive from here to people like Memphis, you like Memphis, the speed limit most of the way is 70 miles an hour. You tell people, listen, the speed limit is 70. Science has confirmed this is a safe speed limit, but we don't have any money for state troopers. Only you and me are going to drive the speed limit. So, who are those people that's breaking that law?
Yeah. Real quickly, and I can answer that question. You know this too, I think. The handcuffing issue. Sometimes right after a shooting happens, law enforcement's not exactly sure immediately. They're not sitting there doing a triage, so they handcuff the individual who may already sometimes be close to death. I mean, it just happens, but these aren't doctors. Law enforcement wants to make sure that the potential threat is taken care of, so they cuff them right on the spot there. That's how it plays out in its policy. Let's go next to Ann. Hi, Ann.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chauffeur's on my corner, so I'm emotional, so give me a chance here. When Officer Delkey went in pursuit, he did not know his suspect, so he did not know he was pursuing a felon. I stood on the corner of MLK protecting students for many, many years, and on that corner, there are cameras for a Metro public school, there are cameras for a Metro public park, and there are cameras for a Metro public housing development. There are no less than 12 to 24 working cameras on that street. So it will take months to go through all the cameras that the school, the housing development, and the park have.
Do you imagine that there is more, a substantially more amount of video that the DA is still looking at beyond what's been released?
I know this, that if a policeman is seen dragging someone from a burning house, there's no question about the video. It's released, let go, and the officers are rewarded. We've got good policemen here, and people, we don't need to get that twisted.
Right.
We've got some professional guys here.
I'd say most of them.
Yeah, I mean, real most of them.
The vast majority, yeah.
Yes, that's right. They're professional people.
Yes.
Even the chief has said, I know we've got some bad apples. His reply is, and I know I shouldn't say what he said, but I'm going to say it anyway because he said it, okay? He says, I need the public's help to weed out those bad apples, okay? The district attorney he frustrates me, Glenn Falk, and you know, we meet and talk, but Glenn frustrates me when he says, I gotta take my time and come back with a verdict. I said, Glenn, you're smarter than that. Come on, man. If one time I said to him, I tell you what, if you'd been an African-American district attorney, you would have been, what you call, charging this officer right now. You would have done that. Now, I don't know where the breakdown or where the change comes, but that's what would have happened. The officers chasing people, I'm saying that for the officers' sake. We don't need you out there doing that. But to Chief Anderson, what I'd like to say, I hope you're watching, or you watch the video. News Channel 5 is always online. Go back and see it later on today. Right. Let me say this to Chief Anderson. Please change the policy in Nashville. We're better than that.
Okay, and we'll talk about what that change can be. And we have a lot more calls and comments on Facebook. Got to take a quick break, Reverend?
Good.
We'll be right back with more right after this.